ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. For those who don't already know me, my name is Mike, and it's my great honour to be standing here today as Simon's best man. Well, it's reached that time in the proceedings that I put Simon through the most humiliating, embarrassing, and uncomfortable 5 minutes of his entire life. An experience no doubt Paula will also be going through in the honeymoon suite later tonight. Let me start by saying it's great to be involved on this, the happiest day of Simon's life. And I really am glad to be here for Simon, because as some of you already know, he was also involved in the happiest day of my life. Not all that long ago, he was there next to me, offering advice and encouragement, trying to keep me calm as I suffered a mixture of flying nerves and what can be described as uncontrollable excitement. That's right, just over 5 years ago, he was standing by my side in Dixon's when I purchased my 42-inch widescreen camera. Don't forget that, David. He was, of course, also the best man at my wedding. Now, I know there's a lot of you here, including myself, that thought that we'd never see this day. I refer not to the fact that Simon has eventually, somehow, managed to convince someone to marry him. I am, of course, referring to the fact that I never thought I'd see the day he'd be paying for dinner and buying the drinks. Well, I think you'll all agree that Paula looks absolutely gorgeous today. Yeah. And I could see Simon, quite rightly, looking very pleased with himself when she entered the room earlier. And Simon, you look pretty good too, despite having copied my outfit. There comes a time in every person's life when they meet their one true love, their kismet, their destiny, the person who will know and understand them for the rest of their lives. That moment came for Simon when he met me 29 years ago. I met Simon in my first year at Clevedon Comprehensive School when we were both 11 years old. We were in the same tutor group, had many lessons together, some of which we sat next to each other and shared books and assignments. Simon had always struck me as being a slightly odd child, and like most other kids, he actually seemed to enjoy being bullied. He found it funny being verbally abused, physically assaulted and generally picked on. Which is why I find it strange that he's waited till now to get married. As we progressed through school, knowing each other but not yet friends, I began to notice that Simon's always seemed to be there. At first I thought it was just a coincidence that he would end up sitting on the same table as me during lunch, or that we kept bumping into each other in the corridor, the school library and the playground. It all came to a head one day when I bumped into him on the stairs in my house. He'd cycled the 4 miles from his house, up a very steep hill in driving rain, in order to lend me a French textbook that he thought I needed. As I looked at him, standing there dripping wet, the remains of the French book in his hand, I was touched. And it became clear to me that Simon had become more to me than just a casual acquaintance or fellow classmate. From that moment on, I realised Simon was now, in fact, my stalker. However, things had changed. I cancelled the restraining order. And we really had become proper friends. We both went on to the sixth form to do A-levels. I dropped out to pursue a career in graphic design. But Simon saw it through to the end, failed his A-levels, and went on to college to study food technology. Due to his academic underachievement, the only college Simon was accepted into was Cannington College near Bridgewater, which meant he had to move away from his family and friends in Clevedon and got digs with a local family. They seemed a bit prudish and straight-laced. But nice enough. However, the house was a bit further away from the college than he had first realised, and after a short time, he gave notice that he would be moving out somewhere nearer. They said they'd be sorry to see him go. So as you can imagine, Simon was quite shocked when he returned back one Sunday night after spending the weekend with his parents to be greeted at the door by a very distraught husband and wife who demanded that Simon leave the premises immediately and that he was nothing more than a filthy little pervert. It turns out that Simon, like most red-blooded 17-year-olds, had certain preferences when it came to reading material. In fact, it's safe to say, Simon had quite a collection of his preferred reading material, which he used to keep hidden in the drawer under his bed. Little did Simon know that while he was away for the weekend, his landlord and landlady had shown a potential new lodger his room and had pulled out this very same drawer under the bed to demonstrate just how much space there was, only to be greeted with Simon's comprehensive collection of Giant Jugs Monthly. He made a hasty departure that night. Still, it wasn't long before he settled into college life, even managing to find a part-time job at a local pub, where he was known affectionately by the locals as Treasure. When I asked him if this was because they valued him highly as a barman, he told me that it wasn't, and they only referred to him as Treasure because of his sunken chest. Hard to believe, I know, when you look at the fine figure of the man sitting before you here today. Well, eventually college came to an end, and Simon had also achieved his dream and got his BSc, bronze swim instructor. He settled in the local area, and although I didn't see him that often, we still kept in touch. A few years on, Simon decided he wanted to see more of the world and planned a year off to travel around Australia. His year was cut short, however, after spending all his money on beer. And he returned after 9 months, jobless and penniless, but with some great stories and a hell of a tan. Upon his return, he decided to move back to his hometown of Clevedon. It didn't take him long to find his feet and get a job at Bristol Dairy called Dunford's. His career went from strength to strength there, and soon he worked his way up from lab technician to the dizzy heights of assistant production manager. Simon even started wearing a tie to work and buying matching buying matching shirt and tie sets from Asda. Though he kept reminding everyone they were in fact by the designer Georges. Georges. Simon now had status, was well liked and highly respected. It was a situation he'd never experienced before. It was sadly a situation that was proved short-lived. Simon was very partial to chicken and mushroom pies. Unfortunately, after eating a slightly dodgy one for his lunch one day, whilst at work, he started to get pains in his stomach. At first he ignored them, but soon he had no choice but to visit the toilet. Whilst sitting there, the pains got worse and, fearing for his life, he began to panic. As he panicked, he began to hyperventilate. This led to him to sweat heavily, go very red in the face, and made his fingers cramp up. As the situation worsened, he decided to try and get help. However, try as he might, due to his cramped fingers, not only could he not open the toilet door, but he also couldn't pull up his trousers. After several frantic minutes, he made one last desperate attempt, and putting his shoulder to the door, he eventually managed to push his way out. As a shocked day shift watched, open-mouthed, as their highly respected assistant production manager, staggered around the shop floor, tall-handed, trousers round his ankles, his Georgette shirt soaked with sweat, breathing heavily and mumbling the words, "Help me, I've been poisoned!" We can only imagine what they must have been thinking. Simon left Dunford shortly after. So life went on. Simon bought a house in the same street as mine. We found ourselves not only as best mates, but also as neighbours. We went on holiday to Australia, Thailand and Turkey. We went round each other's houses to watch the football and took it in turns to cook chips, pizza and beans on a Sunday night, which was the perfect cure for the Saturday night hangover. Well, eventually I ended up meeting someone and moved house. Stricken with grief and unable to face life in Brookfield Walk without me, Simon also decided to up sticks and ended up moving to Hampshire, where he got a job at Watson's Dairy, this time as a fully fledged production manager. A few of his work colleagues did in fact come along to the stag night, and I took the opportunity to ask them what he was like to work with. Apparently he has a reputation in the dairy industry as being a bit of a god. He's rarely seen, holier than thou, and it's a bloody miracle if he does any work. Though I am assured he stays well away from chicken and mushroom pies. I also thought it might be a good idea if I asked some of the people here today for a few words to best describe Simon, and these are some of the comments I got. Pleasure to know him. A good friend to me over the years. Decent human being. A beautiful person with a kind and sensitive nature. That was me. I was, however, surprised and a little upset when one person described him as a conceited, selfish, arrogant idiot with about as much charm and charisma as a teaspoon. A little harsh, I thought. Still, I suppose if a mother doesn't know their own son... Well, time moved on again. Simon bought a house and settled into life in Knoll Village. And what with my family commitments and the distance between us, I didn't see that much of him. Then one evening, I got a phone call from Simon and he said he had some news. When I asked what it was, he very excitedly told me he had a girlfriend. Well, at first, naturally, like most people, I didn't believe it. But he insisted it was true, said her name was Paula, and I'd have to meet her. So a few weeks later, Simon and this Paula came round for dinner. When I first met Paula, I was confused and was sure that must be some mistake. She could speak English. She was very attractive. She was interesting to talk to. She had no obvious tattoos and didn't weigh in excess of 38 stone. In fact, she was nothing like any of Simon's previous girlfriends. I feel very lucky to have known Simon over the last 20-odd years, and even luckier to have been his best friend. He's been there with me during some of the best times in my life, and probably more importantly, during some of the worst. He really has been a true friend to me, and I hope in return I've also been to him. Over the last couple of years, it really has been a pleasure to get to know Paula, and to watch Simon and Paula's relationship grow and blossom into the love that they quite clearly now have for one another. Anyone can see by looking at them, they're not just only in love with one another, but they also like one another. They get on, they have a friendship, and in my opinion, that is the foundation of any successful marriage. Though like any relationship, they've had their disagreements. Apparently, going down the pub with the lads every Saturday, getting steaming drunk, coming home with your underwear on your head, has become somewhat of an issue between them. My advice to Simon, as long as she's enjoying herself, you should let her carry on. But I really do mean it when I say you are an incredibly lucky couple. Simon, you leave here today having gained a beautiful, clever, loving and caring new wife. And Paula, you leave here today having gained a smart, incredibly stylish and good-looking new dress. And both in my book, you're both winners.